So James Bream from Katoni Engineering, welcome. It's so good to see you.
Lovely
it's been
to
a
see you too.
while.
It
You've been
has been a
hiding
little
your
while.
light under a bushel somewhere.
I've
Have you
been
just been
working
really
hard.
busy?
I've been
Well,
working hard.
okay, see, I expect no less from you. What has Katoni really been working on? So I think you're focusing on what, decarbonization?
Yes, some
That's
of that.
important.
Yeah.
And lots of other things. But you tell me, what's going on?
So my job is, I'm growing a business, so
Yeah.
you're always busy. And yeah, we have our service lines at Katoni, but actually a lot of the time I spend is still working with people. But also, I suppose, at an organisational level, we've set up a subsidiary in the Netherlands, which is really quite exciting.
You were just out in Amsterdam at a
Yeah,
show too.
yeah,
Was
I
that you
was,
kind of doing
yeah.
a big ta-da? Here we are in the market.
I had my kilt on and did a whiskey tasting.
Brilliant.
So
I bet you that went over like
it was fun.
wildfire.
It was really fun.
Cool.
And it's, authentically Scottish, but Aberdeen's always had lots of Dutch links since football players started moving over here in the 90s. So that's good. And we've started a new construction business line as well.
wow.
So all of those
Okay.
kind of incremental bits of growth along the way take up a bit of time.
Sure.
Introducing new things. So it's actually pretty exciting.
Yeah, okay. What's been the most exciting thing in the last year? So Amsterdam, the new business line. Unless there's something more exciting than that.
So I suppose all of these new service lines or new locations, they're exciting, but they're like set pieces. So they happen and then they tend to move on in my role.
Sure.
The most exciting thing is the growth. So, people keep, I suppose, having a bit of a negative vibe about the oil and gas industry. But in spite of that, we've grown 20 to 25% every year for the last 5 years. So I keep seeing that and get to the end of the year or partway through the year. And when you get there, that gives me like a proper sense of fulfillment.
Absolutely.
And, you can share that with the team then, and they get a bit of a buzz and you go again. So it's that kind of end of year, start of year piece. And we start again in the 1st of June next financial year. So we're coming at the end of this year. And I'm going to start to get pretty excited over the next 3 months. So the plan is, to over the next 5 years, we'll more than double in size.
Yeah.
But the trick then is we're going to have to change the business a little bit. So back to that kind of negative vibe, I don't see it as a negative, but over the next 5 years, I've got to be realistic that activity in the UK will change. We do a really good job, and I think we can maintain and potentially grow in the near term next years, but that's why we're now looking internationally and not necessarily even just looking at the kind of much used word of energy transition. We're looking at other sectors. So things like the water industry, for example, whiskey, other plant, and industry uses. So,
Okay.
we don't have to think in straight lines, I suppose.
Well, you know what? We were at an event the other day. Shame you couldn't have joined us. You were probably too busy. But we were talking about the energy transition and the kind of gap between now and what's keeping us all busy.
Yeah.
There's lots of investment and investment decisions still kind of in the traditional energy industry, not so many in the one that's on the horizon. So but it sounds like you're making hay, kind of the sun is shining in all of those areas, all the areas until then.
You must have been listening to us in our strategy session last week, because it's exactly the stuff we're discussing. How quickly do we want to move towards the new energy stuff, and I use that term as a kind of general catch-all.
Sure.
And that's not totally in our gift, in our opinion, and that's why some of the internationalisation stuff is focused on traditional hydrocarbons in places like West Africa, and the Netherlands is a bit of a hybrid approach where we can get a soft landing in oil and gas, but also they are further ahead with their transition, and so we can start to learn and execute there and actually bring it back here. So by the time we do some of that stuff, we're going to be more ready in the UK. So you're right, it's not just as simple as switch on, switch off, and that's, I suppose, what a lot of debate politically is, but it's the same types of stuff that we're trying to think about in running a medium-sized business now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what does it look like when you're opening up a new office in Europe or the Netherlands? I mean, are you staffing people? Are you there all the time? Or are you having a bit of like nice beer that you have over there? Lots of tulips.
I might have got to know the local community a little bit, yes.
Good.
So yeah, we've got an office in The Hague.
Yeah.
We've now got staff there. For me, it's really important to have local people because it can't be seen as some kind of land grab from Scotland. And it's the same if you're doing business in Aberdeen. Sure. We might look upon people from the Central Belt as being a little bit different from us, and we know that. So it is really important that you localise the business. But the thing that will stay the same is the focus on customer service. We're an engineering business, but I genuinely believe we do things a little bit different as almost like a sales and marketing led business, focusing on customer service. And that is a universally loved thing from clients. So if we can do that there, we'll do absolutely fine. So yeah, a couple of Dutch speakers for me next, and maybe I'll have to learn a bit of the lingo myself.
Sure. And how are you with languages? Are you?
I'm okay. I speak German.
Oh, good. You're halfway there.
But I've found it's pretty different from Dutch in the pronunciations. West Africa, I've needed a bit of French for that, and I've struggled. So I'll need to fill that gap.
I think you've got the je ne sais quoi that you need.
Yeah.
So
yes, flattery will get you nowhere, I'm afraid.
Absolutely. That's what I'm here to do. All good. Although, you know what, actually, I think one of the strengths, I've known you a while.
Yes.
And I've loved to see, you embrace Katoni and grow it, as you say. But you know what you've brought, I think, is this. You have such an amazing focus on skills and training and bringing people on board. Tell me a little bit about that journey and what you've been what Katoni's been doing in that area.
It's probably one of the hardest things to communicate, what is different about Katoni. And so I've got a belief that, people used to speak about the triple bottom line, and I think it's not really a technical thing. It's just about doing the right things, and ultimately it leads to the right end. So it's more of a process. So supporting local community issues. So that's generally charitable stuff, people maybe not quite as well off as us, maybe given some opportunities in the workplace. I'm particularly passionate, as you know, about young people and getting young people in the workplace and giving them an opportunity. I think it's something the industry's done really poorly. So by growing our own talent, they're culturally indoctrinated in our business. They'll generally stay a bit longer. They become one of us, and that's only good for our business, and retain talent as well. And being proud to be where we're from, and that requires you to understand the local psyche, and that's the same in the Netherlands or anywhere that we go. And I think embedding yourself in that way and not thinking of yourself as just a business, that you're part of the infrastructure of a place, is ultimately delivers good outcomes for the local community, but for the business as well. It's really hard to do that in maybe a shareholder-driven business, but we're privately owned. So I'm really lucky that I have that flexibility to think and operate in that way.
We're talking about bringing the young people on board. How are you focusing them for the changes in the business? I mean, there's certain things you have to achieve in terms of your training, to work in circumstances offshore, onshore. You need certificates and whatnot, and yet, you're moving into new industries, water and stuff like that. Are they similar enough? How are you enabling that transition in terms of skills?
So I look at companies that have been similar to us that exist in Aberdeen for a long time, and I think they've taken an approach of, I feel this anyway, relatively siloed mentality. So you have a sales function, a proposal function, a delivery function, and then they sometimes sit a little bit separately. And so particularly for young people in our business, but actually a lot of our engineers who are coming through the business who are maybe very experienced, it's given people the opportunity to act in, I suppose, leadership ways that is cutting across the business. So a young person coming into our business is the same leadership opportunities as somebody who's very senior in our business. So good example is 2 of our youngest members of staff are actually leading on our schools programme. They're driving the partnership activity. They've identified even a potential recruit, and they've been working on this for 4 or 5 months. And these kind of, I suppose, thematic opportunities provide great leadership opportunities, which in the future of their career add to the technical aspects of the job. So I like some of our engineers, at least, not just to be engineers.
Sure.
They can be much more than that. And I think embedding that across the business, so your functional leaders can be either functional managers or have much greater leadership opportunities as well. So I suppose it's really thinking about your org structure, but that's got to fit into your cultural norms as well. And we spend a lot of time thinking and talking about this to try and get it right, and involve a lot of people in the business. So it's not I suppose, an autocratic business that we've got.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, honestly, you guys spend a lot of time, involved with football. Is that
Yes.
is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And honestly, I had to ask him, how are the Dons doing?
Yeah.
I'm wearing the right colours, so
You
right?
are, yeah. You're looking beautiful.
Fabulous, thank you.
A bit of white in there next time.
I
But,
will. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. So, but how are you using your engagement with sport? You work with a lot of young people in sport as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a theme. But how does that support kind of your business aims?
Okay, so the support for groups in the community is a pretty straightforward one. It's a given one. There's not really too much you expect back from that. That's fine.
Right, you're there
it's
to
just
offer.
what it is.
Yeah.
The ability to support the ladies team, I'll be honest, there's a profile opportunity for us there, and that's great, but it's providing important funds for them, which they really need. I personally, as you know, love sport, football mad, and support the Dons, and really proud to do that. But there's this kind of serious aspect to it as well, which is that I'm a great believer that some of the mentalities that sports people have, and really good sports people have, are brilliant in the workplace. So that kind of thought of being competitive, wanting to win, I'm like that in business. I want to be better than other people. And the culture of the changing room can be similar to the workplace. So you can have a bit of fun, and I think a lot of that's been lost in the workplace these days. So we try and do a bit of that, and using these kind of analogies from sport into the business, which is again something we do, and we share that with our clients as well. I think it's a good way to communicate and help people understand what we're all about.
Yeah. Now, and you've been a team manager at Katoni for how long now?
7
when I say
years.
team manager, I'm like, you're the guy on the side of the pitch, kind of with the clipboard and the big smile or the stern frown.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And would you say that you've got a happy look on your face from the sidelines because your strikers and your defence are working together, right?
Yeah. We've got a top team. We've got a really, really good team, and we've not just got people from Trenchdon Oil and Gas. We've got a good mix of people. We've got a couple of existing footballers, some ex-footballers. We've got graduates. We've got apprentices. We've got people from outside the industry. We've got people from well outside the area. And I think all of that builds into team dynamics. So yeah, I'm standing at the side with my sheepskin jacket, feeling pretty happy with life at the moment. You never know what's round the corner, to be fair, in this industry. So I'm not like at all complacent. Not everything's in our gift, but the types of work we're involved in provide us with a relatively stable platform in terms of protecting our future and making people feel safe in their jobs, I suppose. Because at the end of the time, you've got to remember that most people, they want to be part of something bigger, and that is important in your work. But actually having a wage, taking money home to your family, being able to do things you like, that's what drives people. So safety in the workplace of all sorts, psychological safety, your kind of payment safety as well, health and safety, they're all important as each other.
And so welcome to E-FWD, James. It's always wonderful to see you, kind of like involved and, supporting the industry. You sometimes speak, on behalf of the industry, but you're also involved in supportive events. So tell me a little bit about what you're hoping to see maybe in the next little while.
Okay, so I think we were a founder member of E-FWD, if I'm not wrong. Humble brag there. what attracted me to the concept was meeting like-minded people, but the mix of real focused networking alongside that concept of engaging politicians in something more foresighted than just the political cycle. It's such a difficult thing to do that you've taken on, but I've seen elements of that coming through the programme, and I think that's what I want to see more of. Those three things together provide a real thoughtful space for me to, when I'm in events, important time away from the office, and there are good people there as well. And there's been a little bit of fun with some of the events and some of them afterwards as well, in nice locations in Edinburgh, London, which is again a little bit different for me to, from being stuck in Aberdeen a lot of the time. So it's been good so far. We've joined again. Look forward to the year ahead.
Just thanks for being with us, and hopefully, we're going to sort everything out.
We'll sort some things out, but thanks for wearing red.
I'm here for you.
Cheers. Thank you.